In this lab, we will document a network that is unknown to us. The scenario of this lab is a previous network administrator has left the company. The network documentation is missing and needs to be recreated. So our job is to document the host and network devices, including all the device addressing and logical interconnection. And here we can see 7 PCs and an internet server, and we have to discover this network cloud. So the first part, we will test the connectivity by pinging between PCs and the internet server to test the network. You can use this simple PDU, click on Pc1 and Pc2, and it's successful. From Pc1 to the internet server, it's failed, ping failed, and we ping again, it failed, and the third time is successful. And you can test by using the simple PDU from one PC to another PC and to the internet server. Next, we will discover PC configuration information, and we can click on HPC, this one, and then we click on the IP configuration, and we can record the IPv4 address, the subnet mask, the default gateway, and the DNS server. And we will write down to a spreadsheet like this. For example, PC1, the interface, the host, the device type, IP address, subnet mask, and the default gateway. On part 2, we will discover on part 3, we will discover information about the default gateway device. So we should connect to each default gateway device using Telnet protocol and record information about the interfaces that are used in the table, here. The VTY password is Cisco, and the privilege exec password is class. Now on PC1, click on the command prompt, and then I use the command telnet to the default gateway IP address with the password Cisco. Here I already telneted to a branch 1 device, and then I enable with the password class. And next, we will examine the routing table on branch 1. And here is the serial 010. It's a directly connected interface with the IP address here. And the second interface is the gigabit Ethernet 000, and here is the IP address. And this router has a default route to the next hop, and this is the exit interface. So after examine the routing table on branch 1 device, we can guess it's a router and it has 2 interfaces. The gigabit interface has this IP address, and the serial interface has this IP address. And the PC1 is connected to branch 1 through a LAN network. So I draw the PC1 here. And next we will examine the neighbor of branch 1 device by using the command show cdp neighbor. And here the information. Branch 1 had two devices as a neighbors. The first one is switch B1 and the second one is a router, and we can guess the connection between branch 1 and the two devices like this. PC1 is connected to switch B1 and this is a platform through the gigabit 0/1 here, gigabit 0/1, and the branch 1 connected to the hub. It's an ISR router here, ISR router here, and the port ID of the ISR router here. So now we have the first view of our network from branch 1. We have a PC1 with the IP address connected to the switch B1, and this device is connected to the branch 1 router, and this router is connected to the hub. To get more information on each interface and the IP address, so we will enter the command show cdp neighbor detail. For example, the switch B1 has the management IP address here. We can copy it and then we paste here the IP for management purpose. And next, so the interface here, it's the interface of branch 1, and here is the local interface of switch B1. The second neighbor is the hub with the IP address, the platform, and the outgoing port, the serial interface on the hub, and here the local interface on branch 1. So we copy this IP address of the outgoing port interface and paste it into our topology here. 1.0.1. Maybe the paste is not working well. So we already had the first branch network on PC1. Next, we do the similar steps on PC2, 3, and to the PC7 to draw a map of the network by using show CDP neighbors and show CDP neighbor detail. And after discovering the topology on branch 1 network and the hub device, we will fill in all the information on this table. For example, here I enter switch B1 with the interface and the device type, the IP address, the subnet mask, and the default gateway. From PC2, we telnet to the default gateway and we got the factory router. Then we show the IP routing table, and then we got the first interface. It's the serial interface. The second one, gigabit Ethernet 000. The third one, gigabit Ethernet 001. And factory router has a default route to through the next hop, and there is a exit interface. And then we enter the show IP interface brief. We got the 3 up interfaces. And then we show CDP neighbor detail. We got 3 neighbors. The first one is switch F2. The second one is switch F1. And the hub. The hub maybe is the central router on the topology that we are examining. And with that information, we can draw the topology from PC2. This is the IP address. PC2 connect to the switch F1, and here the IP address of the switch. And this interface on switch F1 that's connect to PC2. We can get this information when we telnet to switch F1 by using this IP address and show all the interface, and only gigabit 0/1 and F0/1 are up. And then we get the connection from switch F1 to the factory router, and the IP address and the interface on the factory router with the IP address of this one. And we do the similar steps, and we get the information from PC3. Connect to switch F2, and then connect to the factory on this interface and the IP address. And from the factory, connect to the serial interface on the hub. We have this information. So that is on our map from PC1, 2, and 3 to the hub. Now let's examine the network connect to PC4. Firstly, on PC4, we telnet to the default gateway, and we got the HQ router, and then we show the IP routing table on this router, and we got the first physical interface. The second one, it's a sub interface. The third one is also the sub interface, and here also the sub interface. So we can guess the gigabit 0/0/0 is a chunk port connect to a switch. And next we will show the neighbors on HQ router, and we got the switch HQ1 and the hub. So we can guess the topology on PC4 like this. PC4, and we got the HQ and the HQ1, and HQ connect to the hub. And here's the gigabit 0/0/0, and it should be divided into sub-interface. And on the switch HQ1, it should be the trunk ports. And now we will examine the interface on switch HQ1 that is connected to Pc4 by telnetting to switch HQ1. We enter show CDP neighbor detail and get the IP address on switch HQ1, and then we telnet to this IP address. I copy it and paste here and log in. And then I show IP interface brief to get the up interface that is connected to Pc4. And here you see we got the port channel 1 and port channel 3. So we can guess this switch have the port channel to another switch or to the HQ. And then we can filter the up interface by using the keyword include and up. So we got the port channel 1, 3 and fast Ethernet, 4 fast Ethernet port. That may be the member interface on port channel, and this is the gigabit Ethernet interface and the VLAN 1 interface. So with this information, we can guess the topology like this: switch HQ1 connect to the HQ router through the gigabit Ethernet 0/1. So this one, and then we have two port channel 1 and number 3. To know more about the neighbor of switch HQ1, we will show CDP neighbor on this switch. And here we get switch HQ3 and switch HQ2. HQ3 connect to port channel 3 and HQ2 connect to port channel 1. And now we can draw a map. Switch HQ1 connect to switch HQ2 using port channel 1 and connect to HQ3 using port channel 3. The connection between HQ2 and HQ3 we can discover by telnet to the HQ2 and show the neighbor. To discover the member ports on port channel 1 and port channel 3, we should examine the neighbor table on switch HQ1. For example, HQ1 connect to HQ3 by the port channel 3, and port channel 3 has the member ports fast Ethernet 0, 24 and 23. The two physical ports are on the switch HQ3. So we can draw here and then we examine the member ports on port channel 1 and here on HQ2 we have 20 and 19 on HQ2. For the local port on the switch HQ1 and the physical member ports here, we can show the other channel summary on HQ1. And here, and then we got the port channel 1 has 2 member ports, 19 and 20. So here 19 and 20. And port channel 3, 23 and 24. 23 and 24. And then you can telnet into HQ2 and show the neighbor to discover the connection between HQ2 and HQ3. And here is the topology on Pc4 and Pc5 with the switching network. We have the port channel 1, 3 and port channel 2, and we have 3 switch connect together like this topology, and then connect to the HQ router, and from the HQ router connect to the hub. And because the physical interface gigabit 000, we divided into 3 sub interfaces. So on the switching network, maybe we should have 3 VLAN, and to discover those VLAN, we should show run on switch HQ1. And here we have the VLAN 5, VLAN 10, and VLAN, the default VLAN 1. To know the IP address range for each VLAN, we should telnet to the HQ router and show IP show run. And here the range, IP address range on VLAN 1, VLAN 5 and VLAN 10. And we can note here VLAN 1, the default VLAN, the IP address range, VLAN 5 and VLAN 10. So now we have discovered 4 connections from the hub to the remote sites. And now we will discover the connection between the hub and the internet server here. So now I will telnet to the hub and list all the neighbor devices. And here on the hub, I use the show CDP neighbor, and we have factory already, branch 2, branch 1 and HQ. And you can see we have the ISP router. So now I will draw a map. Here is ISP. And maybe the ISP router connect to the internet server. To get the information about the connection between the ISP router and the hub, so we show CDP neighbor detail. and search for the ISP here, the IP address, the outgoing port on the ISP, to get the IP address on the HQ router here, on the hub router connect to the ISP. We can enter the show IP interface brief to get the IP address on this interface, connect to the ISP interface here, and then you can telnet from the hub to the ISP and show the CDP neighbor. So the ISP has only one neighbor, it's a hub router. So and we can see a port here. Here I am in ISP and I can show IP interface brief. You see this port is connected to hub and this port is connected to the internet router, and so CDP neighbor, so the only one neighbor, it's a hub. So we can copy this information and paste here. With the IP address, paste here. And on the internet server, the IP address here. We can copy and paste it in here. So we already discovered all the information on this network, and here is our full topology for this lab. The PC1 connect to switch P1, connect to branch 1, and then connect to the hub. And the factory router here has connect to switch F2 and switch F1, connect to PC3 and PC2. The hub connect to the HQ router here, and on the HQ router we connect to switch HQ1, HQ3 and HQ2 here, and connect to Pc4 and Pc5. And brand 2 connect to switch, and this switch connect to Pc6 and Pc7, and this, the name of the switch is switch branch B2. And from the hub we have the connection to the ISP, and from ISP connect to the internet server. So that is all for this lab, and thanks for watching.